This is the EMP 2015 to 2017 air splitter install, and we just wanted to show you real quick, if you're doing it at home, that you can pull your car up on your driveway with the rear wheels just sitting off, so you can bring the front end up a little bit if you don't have a jack or anything. But we've already got one off, but you're going to want to get all the screws from underneath here out of your base stock splitter. There's going to be 6 of them. Alright, so with those screws you just took out of your splitter, you're going to put 3 of them each in these on the sides, in these 3 big holes right here. These screws right here you just took out. So 3 on each side, and they go in the big holes. And they're big like that so you can adjust it where it needs to be. So it's not in one fixed spot, so you put it where you think it needs to be. Alright, so you're going to start off by just hand tightening them, and you're going to do this front one first and then the farthest back one so it can support itself evenly. So just get it to where the screws will bite a bit, and then get them in there a little bit so it'll hold it up. Let's get that second one. And then you'll do the same for the other side. Now we're going to be doing the center section. So you're going to want to carefully slot that in there so you don't scratch anything. And you're going to want to do these holes first, so you got to make sure that those are lined up like so. And then you'll be using the 1/2-inch 1032 screws. Dropping that in there. And then drop it in on the other side too, just so that it doesn't slide around when you let it go. So you put it like that, and then it'll stay still. And then you'll get your nylock nuts and just get it started on there, because you know you can't tighten a nylock nut with your hand all the way. But you're gonna do it on both sides. And then once you've done that, you can also just go ahead and set up your support bars, which you're gonna want them mirrored from each other. So like looking at this one, we've got the 2 L brackets up, and we've got a 1/2-inch screw that will be pointing inwards. So you're gonna want the nylock nut on this side. And then for the other one that's gonna be over here, it is the same concept, just with the screw on the opposite side and the nylock nut facing the inside. So make sure both your nylock nuts are facing the EMP logo, and then those will be ready. And also make sure that these aren't tight. You want to still be able to move them just a little bit, but not to where they'll be flopping around everywhere, but to where you can actually make solid adjustments to it. So once you've got those 2 1/2-inch screws in there, you're going to want to adjust it until it's right where you want it to sit, where it'll be lined up with the bottom piece. And then once it's like that, it's a little hard to do by yourself, but you can also just kind of slowly tighten it, because while you're tightening it, it's going to be moving a little bit. And when it does do that, you don't want to tighten it all the way. You just want to get it to where, again, just like the L brackets on these, that they'll be tight enough to make just sturdy adjustments. And then once it's right where you want it to sit, you can then tighten it down a good bit more. And there's one side, and then you'll do the exact same for over here, just tightening slowly until you can make solid adjustments, making sure it's all good. Like so, and then tightening it all the way. Alright, so now you're going to put the support bars that you just set up on the splitter. So to get those in there, you're going to have to push this down a good bit, just so you can get that in there without scratching it. So drop that right in there. Same for the other side. Put that in there. And real quick, actually, these are prototypes, so yours aren't gonna look this wide. You're gonna have it, you know, shorter, and that's not gonna be as big. So for you, you'll just slot it in, take your support bracket, slide it through the bottom. Again, not gonna be this loose for you. And then take 2 3/4 inch screws and stick it through both of them. And then you'll take your nylock nuts and and then you'll want to put them on the bottom of those screws. And then once you've got both of those nylock nuts on there, you're going to want to do it for the other side. And then tighten them all the way once you've got them where you want them. All right, now that you've got these 3 screws tightened and you've got this whole support bar set up going, except for this up here, you don't want to tighten that just yet, because now that these are done, you're going to want to go back to the stock screws underneath that we started with and tighten those up once the whole splitter is exactly where you want it to be. And once you've got that done, all the holes that are left over, like the ones up here, all these are going to be filled in with these number 10 3/4 inch screws. So besides the stock holes we started with, all the other holes that you'll see on the bottom are going to be taken care of with these black spiky number 10 screws. So we are going to start tightening up those bottom screws and then get those number 10s in there once we know the splitter is where we want it. Alright, now we're going to do all these black spiky number 10 3/4 inch screws here, and you'll have 9 for each side piece, and I haven't counted for the center piece, but we will do that after we do the side pieces. And don't screw these in all the way at first, just get them like barely tight with whatever power tool you're using, but go back for every screw and make sure that they are hand tight. For the bottom, for the support bars, for where we will mount the support bars to the car. So make sure everything is hand tight before you're fully done. Yeah, so just so you don't strip them. So just like that, where it's not too much. So you're gonna want to do that 9 times for each side. And then we will point out where the center section holes are. Alright, once you've finished the side pieces, now we're going to move on to the center section. And that's going to be 7 holes that you are going to use the spiky black 1032, not 1032, sorry, number 10 3/4 inch screws. Do not use 1032 on this, that's not going to work. So first you're going to want to put the center one in. We don't have the center one in, but don't worry about that. You're going to put the center one in, just so it'll hold itself up while you're trying to do all the rest on both sides. So we are going to get that center one screwed in here real quick. So useful tip for making your life easier when you're doing this, go from the inside out, because it's going to pull the outside of the center section in the farther out you go. Because if you start out here, you've got a bigger gap to try and fill with no assistance from the other screws. So start from the inside out and make your life easier and the install quicker. Alright, so now you're going to actually screw in the L brackets to the plastic up here. And with these, you'll see there's a tiny lip on the stock plastic right there. Starts right there. So this bit here, you're going to want to get the L brackets onto that and try and screw into that so you can get it as close to the grill plastic as possible. And when you're mounting these, you want to make sure there's no twist in it. You're also going to want to look from the front and see if it's straight on. And, you know, from here, it looks pretty straight. You know, that one looks straight. So, when they're even, and you'll check that they're on that plastic lip in there, and then you will get to screwing them in. Also, use your knees to push up on this so that it is close to that lip. If you don't have a power screwdriver, you can use a stubby little short screwdriver, or you can use a little hole puncher, not a paper one, but one that will like start a hole in there. So using a manual screwdriver won't be super hard and take 10 minutes per hole. So, but we have a power screwdriver, so we're gonna use a power screwdriver. So it looks straight. And so let's get this screwed in there. You know, our installs are kind of more focused on being able to do it by yourself, but obviously all of these are way better if you've got someone to do it with you. So if you've got a friend that you can force to do unpaid labor, do that. Alright, there you go. Oop. So yeah, also don't tighten these all the way. Same for everything else, because you're going to want to go back with a screwdriver and manually tighten everything to make sure you don't strip anything out with the power screwdriver we hope you have. Alright, so now we're going to go back for the final step and hand tighten everything with your screwdriver, and we're going to start with this one. But just wanted to say, be careful of this one specifically, and it's mirrored for the other side too. Be careful with that one, because this one you could possibly strip it out. So don't get it too tight. Be very careful. And then you're also going to want to hand tighten these up here, the support bars, these two screws right here, and also go back through and make sure all your stock screws are tight with your 3/8 socket. So we are gonna, 3/8 or 7mm. So just go back, make sure everything's tight, and then that is the last step to this whole thing. After that, your splitter is ready to go.
So now we're gonna do the install of the winglet. If you've got a winglet version, you gotta make sure that the countersunk holes are facing out. So it goes on like that. And then what we're gonna do first, you know, and this can actually be done before you install it on the car. We're just doing it afterwards because we wanted to show with and without wings. So, because the wingless version doesn't have these holes. So if you buy the wingless version, don't worry, those holes won't be there. So, you know, we can go ahead and, you know, we'll put the screw going in from the top, and it'll be one of the small 1/2" screws going to the top, and then I have a nylock nut that will go on it from underneath. Just get them, hand tighten as much as you can at first. Do the same for the back one. And then I'm going to put the bolt in there into the countersunk hole. Put it through the hole. And then always remember, make sure you got the flat side of the nylock nut going onto the bolt first. Oop. Kind of fun getting these on there. Hand tighten that, get this other one in. And then once you've got all 4 on there holding it on, you'll want to move the winglet so that it's right in the spot where you want it. You know, because you can move it around so that you can, you know, get it right on there. And then, tighten them up. So we recommend tightening these first. Tighten these here first, then making sure of your distance from the splitter. Get it on there and then tighten it up, and also make sure that you're good in the back here, and tighten everything up and you're ready to go. Then do the same for the other side and your install is done. Okay, so whenever you're doing the winglets, make sure that the winglet is actually outside, it sits outside of the splitter. It won't sit on top of it, it'll sit next to it, so that you'll have it just like that.